Okay, I don't know how long this video is going to be, if it's going to be a 2 minute or a 20-minute video, but I just wanted to ramble about a video that I watched from a guy called T1J, and I want to talk about what he discussed about entitlement, men's behaviour, and stuff. That's what I wanted to talk about, really. Some of the things he said in the video I entirely agreed with. He mentioned behaviours that a lot of us would regard as egregious, and I would agree with that. It was the things that he attributed it to, which was male entitlement largely, which just didn't make any fucking sense to me. It seemed like the exact opposite, some of the examples he was giving. And the other thing is that he also listed some behaviours such as men pursuing married women, and this sort of idea that, oh yes, it's been shown. He give an example of a couple of comedies where a man has pursued a married woman, as if this is some kind of male behaviour. This is a dude thing. I sometimes wonder if I'm living in a different reality to other people, right? Because yes, that happens. Of course it happens, but it doesn't seem to be a male thing. That seems to be a thing that and certainly not a straight male thing. It's gay men will pursue people that are in relationships. Women will pursue men that are married. In fact, one of the things that is often said that's quite ironic is that men who are married seem to be more attractive to women than when they're not married. You know, it seems like your status is raised. The fact you're a married man, you're obviously not a total twat or something. I don't know. But I know, having a close relative who spent her entire life seemingly chasing married men, that it's certainly not just a male thing. So why that features under straight dude logic, these things, when that seems to just transcend the boundaries? Like I say, I watch these fucking videos and I feel like I'm living in a different world to these people, because they just seem to see things in just such a different way. I don't know if it's them or me, frankly. But he titled his video Straight Dude Logic. Which I don't know why he picked that title, whether it was to try and get a few views or whatever. I just find it interesting. It doesn't offend me particularly. You could say it's a slightly offensive title. Dude is a kind of mild sexist pejorative. I just can't imagine that he would, for one moment, make a video entitled Women's Logic. Or what would be the equivalent, straight chick logic, right? You know, this is how straight chicks think and act. He just wouldn't do that, would he? And if he did, this is the interesting thing. Like I said, I'm not really bothered that much about the video, about the title. But I am interested in the thought process that go on. That would immediately be flagged by his kind of community, his little area of the progressive world, as problematic, wouldn't it? To make a video seemingly generalising women in that way, as there's some such a thing as women's logic. But straight dude logic, that's fine. And he even made a mocking comment about halfway through about, I hope I don't even have to mention that this is not all men. You know, like, I shouldn't even have to say all this kind of thing. It's blindingly obvious. But it wouldn't be flagged as blindingly obvious if he made a video women's logic, would it? Or straight chick logic. Then it would have been problematic in the extreme. Not to me, really, but to the kind of people that would be more than happy with him giving it that kind of title, that would agree very much with his perspectives on things. And it just seems odd. It just seems odd to me that this is a group of people that set the most store, seemingly, of any group on flying the banner of equality and equal treatment. And for them, equality means treating everybody more or less the same. Right. And yet it doesn't. When it actually comes to it, there's always a fucking reason. There's always a reason for asymmetric treatment. They've always got a reason why, well, that's okay when you're talking about men, but it's not okay when you're talking about women, because women have been oppressed, or because we're living in a patriarchy is just the answer for fucking everything, quite honestly. You can do whatever you like and just say, but we're living in a patriarchy, so that makes any kind of asymmetric treatment we'd like to employ absolutely acceptable. Okay, I'm getting into rant territory there. Didn't even really want to talk about the title. What I wanted to talk about is he made a series of arguments, a series of points. There were some of the points that he talked about with regard to male behaviour, which, as I say, for me, my understanding, my sort of experience of the world didn't seem to be particularly male behaviours. They were just behaviours, and maybe not good behaviours, maybe behaviours that you could take issue with and make a video saying, you know, we shouldn't be condoning these kinds of things, and maybe in media we portray these things and they're seen as a positive thing. You know, you're going after somebody else's partner and then you're getting them and breaking their relationship up, and that's perceived as we don't look at the damage party or whatever, and that's fine, but it didn't seem a particularly, he's making it out to be a gendered thing, to be a thing that men do. I have no problem with singling out men's behaviour and discussing toxic and negative aspects of men's behaviour, but it doesn't seem to make any sense to do that when we're discussing issues that men and women both do to about the same kind of degree. That just seems like you are vilifying men effectively if you do it. Same with women. If you do that with women, if you find something that men and women do, but only keep calling it out when women are doing it and describe it as a straight chick behaviour, then it's just an odd way of carrying on. But there were some other behaviours which he mentioned, which were I would regard as egregious. But what I couldn't wrap my fucking head round was that he linked them to male entitlement. And the way that he linked them to male entitlement was to describe things which are the exact opposite of what you would expect from entitlement. He described behaviours where men are investing time and effort and resources and doing whatever they can to try and attract women, effectively, even going so far as going to some of these kind of coaches, these sex guru type people who get into some quite dubious behaviours, some kind of dubious ways to attract members of the opposite sex, and I don't have a problem with calling those things out, but I don't see how that's entitlement. To me, this is an example of entitlement. Is somebody who is born of very rich parents, who just assumes as a result of that, they'll inherit the wealth. Their daddy will give them a great job. They don't really need to work at school. They can toss it off. They don't need to make much of an effort in any way. Life's just going to unfold in front of their eyes, right? And they're not going to have to do very much. They're just going to walk into a comfy lifestyle for the rest of their life and a good job as a result of them doing very, very little. Just as a result, effectively, of being born with a silver spoon in their mouth. That, to me, would scream entitlement. They believe that they're entitled to those things. Those things are just going to fall into their fucking lap. When I look at somebody who works really, really hard at school, tries so fucking hard in all their lessons, get as many qualifications as they can get, maybe goes on some courses afterwards to try and improve their interview technique, right? Maybe goes on courses to learn how to write the perfect CV. All those kinds of things I don't perceive as signs of entitlement. I perceive as the exact fucking opposite. There is an individual who knows that unless they devote as much time and effort as they can to maximising both their potential and their abilities, right, that they're not going to get the things that they would like. And I'm assuming that T1J would agree with that. And yet seemingly, when it comes to this issue of men's behaviour, it just fucking baffled me. He's talking about men doing all these things, going to the far end of a fucking fart to try and attract women, and that's male entitlement. That's because they're doing this because they're entitled to sex. What? If they think they're entitled to sex, then, I mean, we've seen some of these real twisted fucking weirdos. Sometimes it goes really badly wrong. These guys who really do think that they are entitled to sex, right? And when you look at the things that they write and the things that they say, they're really fucking whacked out. And they do feel that somehow either some individual woman or society, womanhood at large, owes them a fuck, right? And they shouldn't really have to do very much to get it. It should just fall into their lap. Women should just be happy that they're getting a chance to shag them or something. I don't know. You can't work it out because it's not logical. Right. So it's difficult to even put it into words. But that is the exact opposite of what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here, regardless of whether some of their behaviours and the ways that they approach women, they might not be right. They might lie. They might say they're a fucking a fighter pilot when they're not. They just empty the dustbins or what have you, right? There might be things that we can question. They might pursue women to the state when they make them feel fucking uncomfy. Obviously, objectionable behaviours, abhorrent. But when you are going to the far end of a fucking fart to try and attract women and get sex, that isn't the sign of entitlement, T1J. That's the fucking opposite, pal. If that's the sign of entitlement, then what isn't a sign of entitlement? If not trying and just expecting that sex is going to come your way is a sign of entitlement, and not acting in exactly the opposite way is a sign of entitlement, then seemingly anything and everything is a sign of entitlement. That didn't make any sense. Women wearing makeup, wearing a push-up bra or chicken fucking fillets to try and make their cleavage look, more eye-popping, right? That's a sign of female entitlement. That's a sign that they think that all men should be fucking them and that they should just be fighting the blokes off with a shitty stick. It's exactly the opposite. People are making an effort because they don't feel entitled. And did it ultimately affect some of the messages that he had in his video? No, it didn't. It didn't. And there's some good to come out of his video, right? And he's saying that we shouldn't just berate men for the things that we don't like in men, which is grand. That's a fucking great stance. It's a very positive, forward-thinking stance because it doesn't work, that. Berating people, men, women, straight people, gay people, it doesn't fucking work. I agree with him on that. But it's this whole issue of lazy thinking, of just attributing everything. That's feminism's fault. That's patriarchy's fault. That's the left's fault. That's the right's fault. It's because we're living in this kind of fucking society. It's due to male privilege. It's due to male entitlement. Without even fucking thinking through whether it's relevant to what you're saying. It is just possible. It is just possible for things in a society, even in a patriarchal society, to be wrong and it not be due to the fact it's a patriarchal society. It is just possible for women to have something in their favour and it not be due to feminism. Right, it is just possible for men to have faults, even faults that women don't have, and it not be due to male entitlement. It could just be, just a thought for you here, T1J. It could just be due to other things besides that. And that is the thing that I find really, really frustrating about so many videos, is that it's like everything has to be fucking heaped in. We have to heap all these different things in. We can't just look at something for the thing itself, right? It has to be linked into all these little negative buzzwords, even when it makes absolutely no fucking sense. Okay, got it off my chest, I think. Thanks for watching. Bye.